Welcome to my YouTube channel, Shadow Whispers, another video. The dollar store always seemed like a safe place. Bright fluorescent lights, neatly stocked shelves of off-brand snacks, cheap trinkets, and seasonal decorations cluttered the aisles. It was a place of convenience, a haven for bargain hunters. But behind the rows of dollar deals and plastic-wrapped novelties, something sinister stirred. Something that most customers never noticed until it was too late. The strange disappearances. It started with whispers, small-town gossip spreading among cashiers, hushed conversations behind registers. Regular customers would come in every few days and suddenly, they'd stop showing up. At first, no one thought much of it. People move, habits change. But then it became a pattern. Jennifer, a night shift manager at the local Dollar Plus, was the first to sense that something was off. She had worked the late shift for years and was used to the eerie silence that crept in after 10 p.m. when the store emptied out. The aisles always seemed longer at night, the shelves casting odd shadows under flickering lights. But lately, she had noticed something unsettling. Items were shifting on their own. Entire displays rearranged overnight with no explanation. The security cameras, cheap and glitchy, would distort whenever she tried to check the footage. Then there was the matter of the missing people. Jennifer had taken note of them. An old man who always bought canned beans and crossword puzzles. A teenage girl who came in for energy drinks and candy. They had all vanished without a trace. Their cars left abandoned in the parking lot. Keys still in the ignition, doors slightly ajar. As if they had stepped out for just a moment and never returned. The man in the aisles. One night, as Jennifer finished restocking the shelves, she saw movement out of the corner of her eye, a shadow shifting just beyond the paper towel aisle. Her heart pounded as she turned, expecting to see a late-night straggler, but the aisle was empty. Still, she could feel it. Something was watching her. She shook it off and made her way back to the register. That's when she noticed it. The bell at the front entrance had never chimed. But there was now a man standing at the far end of the store, tall, unnaturally thin, wearing a faded black coat that draped over his frame like a shroud. His face was obscured beneath the brim of an old hat, the kind a gravedigger might wear. He didn't move. He simply stood there, as if waiting for something. Jennifer cleared her throat. "Sir, we're closing soon. Can I help you find something?" The man didn't respond. He just tilted his head slightly, as if studying her. The air around her grew thick, stale. Her breath felt heavy in her chest. Every instinct told her to leave, to run. But she couldn't move. It was like she was rooted in place, paralyzed by some unseen force. And then, just as suddenly as he had appeared, he was gone. Jennifer blinked. The space where he had stood was empty, but the oppressive weight of his presence lingered. She sprinted to the security room, desperate to check the cameras. But as she scrolled through the footage, her stomach twisted into knots. The man hadn't entered the store. He had just appeared. The warning. The next day, Jennifer confided in her coworker, Alex, who had been working the morning shift. She expected him to laugh it off, but instead, his face went pale. "You saw him too?" Alex whispered. Jennifer's blood ran cold. "What do you mean?" Alex hesitated before pulling out his phone. He scrolled through his photos until he found one, a grainy security screenshot from a week prior. It was the same man, standing in the same spot, except this time he wasn't alone. Behind him, barely visible in the poor lighting, was a row of figures. Dark silhouettes, featureless and still, like mannequins waiting for instruction. Jennifer clapped a hand over her mouth. "What the hell is this?" Alex swallowed hard. Every time he shows up, someone disappears. Jennifer wanted to deny it, wanted to dismiss it as a trick of the light or a camera glitch. But deep down, she knew the truth. Something unnatural was happening in that store. Something evil. And it was just getting started. The vanishing employee. The tension in the store grew thick enough to cut. Jennifer and Alex weren't the only ones who had noticed something was wrong. Other employees had begun to complain about the strange occurrences. Items moving on their own, whispers coming from empty aisles, and an overwhelming sense of being watched. Then, one night, one of their co-workers, Mark, failed to show up for his shift. At first, they assumed he had called in sick or simply quit. But his car was still in the parking lot, just like the others before him. His phone rang endlessly, going straight to voicemail. Jennifer's gut twisted as she realized they were running out of time. Whatever had taken those customers had now turned its gaze toward them. Desperate for answers, Jennifer and Alex decided to search the store after hours. Armed with flashlights and a baseball bat from the sporting goods aisle, they crept through the empty building, their footsteps echoing against the tile floor. Everything seemed normal until they reached the back storage room. The door was slightly ajar, the faint hum of the overhead lights flickering in and out. Inside, the shelves were in disarray, boxes overturned, their contents spilled across the floor. And in the center of it all, something impossible, Mark's name tag, resting atop a perfectly folded uniform. Jennifer's hands trembled as she picked up the tag. There was no sign of struggle, no blood, nothing to suggest what had happened to him. It was as if he had simply ceased to exist. Then the lights went out. A deep, guttural whisper echoed through the room, sending a shiver down Jennifer's spine. "You shouldn't be here." Her flashlight flickered. Shadows twisted unnaturally along the walls. And then, out of the darkness, she saw them, the figures from the security footage. They stood there, their faces featureless, their bodies motionless. And at their center, the man in the hat. Jennifer's scream caught in her throat as the figures lunged forward. Part 5. The Escape. Darkness swallowed the store. Jennifer could hear Alex breathing heavily beside her, his grip tightening on her wrist. "We run," she whispered. "No matter what." A low chuckle echoed through the aisles, the sound reverberating unnaturally. Jennifer yanked Alex forward, sprinting blindly through the aisles. Products tumbled to the floor as unseen hands brushed past them. The emergency exit loomed ahead, a glowing red beacon of hope. The man in the hat stood in front of it, his mouth stretched into an unnatural grin. "Stay," he whispered. Jennifer let out a guttural scream and hurled a can from the nearest shelf. The instant it hit him, the store lights flickered back on, the figures momentarily retreating. Alex kicked the door open. Cold night air rushed in. They didn't look back. The next morning, the store was empty. No records of missing persons, no security footage. And where the man had stood, a new aisle appeared overnight, fully stocked. Sale. Everything must go. See you in next story. Thank you for watching.